Good early afternoon. We are semi-live. You joined us here on the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews, and the reason we say we are semi-live is because I am live doing this, but I am not live as you are seeing it. You know, we've had some discussions around the studio lately about what do we do when Andy is out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, on Thursdays, when the Blue Plate Specials are for wisdomharbor.com only, that's an easier problem to solve because we can create and fit Wisdom Harbor content. But on the Tuesdays, when it's open to everybody, even the people who have not yet subscribed to the very inexpensive wisdomharbor.com. What do we do on Tuesdays? Because I travel some and occasionally we have meetings and, occasionally they'll knock on the door and I'll be asleep. And so what do we do on those days? And we have decided that what we will do is go back into our archives and we will find episodes that we particularly enjoyed, and we won't replay them because a replay or a repeat is something no one wants to see, but we will present an encore presentation. And just in case you need to know whether or not that is an encore presentation that you're watching, we will have an encore presentation logo put in the bottom of the screen and you can see it. How about that? So we have selected for our first encore presentation one of our episodes of Crazy History that people particularly enjoyed, and we got a big kick out of researching. And so now, today, here you go with the very first encore presentation of the Blue Plate Special. Good early afternoon. We are live here on the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews, and we're at Wisdom Harbor Studios here in Orange Beach, Alabama at the Wharf. And we have visitors in the studio today. I always love it when we have visitors, and it's somebody's birthday. Could it be the person with feathers on her head? Yeah. There you go. And it's your 60th birthday. Wow, you're Pam. Pam from Illinois. Happy birthday, Pam. You don't look a day over 30. And then, are you guys from Amarillo? You guys are Kevin Williams' friends. Kevin texted me earlier today and told me you guys would be here. So glad you're here. So 60 years old. I mean, you honestly don't look 60. So, when Adam was a little boy, in fact, we were here at the Wharf. So, and Adam was, I don't know, he was probably 6 or something. And we were walking along right under there and ran into some ladies like you guys, and it was, somebody's birthday party, and so they saw me and they said hey to me, and they said it's her birthday, and Adam's right there with me, and Adam says, and I would guess that you are, and I was going, oh, he said, I would guess that you are 32 years old, and she was about 60, and she goes, oh, that is so sweet. And I was like, whew, and then he didn't know to quit when he was ahead. And before I could stop him, he goes, and I think you weigh 215 pounds. It's like, oh, God, oh, no. You just couldn't leave it alone, kid. And there goes your job at the fair, guessing weight and age. But if you're new to us, we're glad to have you here. And if you're on Facebook, please click that notification button and turn on the notifications on your phone so that when we are live anytime here at Wisdom Harbor Studio, you will be notified. And also save, not save, you can save it if you want to, but share what we're doing, if you would. If you would just share to the your Facebook page, it's down there on the right, and it's like an option. Then to my page, yes, to your page. So if you could share, that would be great. And hi to the Twitter people, the Instagram people, and to the YouTube people. And if you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button. That would help us a lot. And Lokindiri, how do you say your name? Lokindi. All righty then. Let's cackle. That's what she says. Joy Gregory, good morning. We've got a great show. Okay, we're going to do some crazy history today. Some crazy history. And it's going to be a good show. It's not going to be as good a show as we're doing Thursday, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Deanna Kilpatrick, good afternoon. Yes, we are going to have fun today. Jan Ritter, hey, how are you? Corey Duckman, it's your birthday. Corey and Pam? Both having your birthday together? Well, Judith DeWitt, getting hot in Spokane, Washington. Well, and there's Dave from Phoenix, which he probably is saying, yeah, hot in Spokane. Yeah, hot. I was at Phoenix one time, and Matt Jack, our newer member of the team, Matt Jack, is from Phoenix, where I was there one time. It was 116, which, and everybody going, wow, it's a dry heat. And I'm like, yeah, so is my oven. Teresa Roller, hey, from Mobile. Let's see. Who else? Jan Ransom Goodson, hello from Alabama. Hey, I want to tell you very quickly about Thursday's Blue Plate Special. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be fun. I called a halt to a rumble that was about to happen last night in my kitchen. It was a peaceful Memorial Day up until my wife Polly and my oldest son Austin started in about story songs and which was the best and what were among the best. And then they were kind of talking about the best story songs, but then they got specific and it started getting out of hand. And I said, stop! You can come duke it out on the Blue Plate Special. So Thursday, Polly and Austin will be our guests, and we'll have in this corner Polly Andrews and in this corner Austin Andrews. So I saw Heather Olson pass by there. So Heather, and you finished Up From Slavery. Wow, that the book is incredible. Booker T. Washington, a remarkable man. And I read that when Good Morning America named the 5 books you should read in your lifetime. And one of them was Traveler's Gift. And I had read the others. It was To Kill a Mockingbird, As a Man Thinketh. I can't remember the other one, but Up From Slavery was one. And that was one that I had not read. And so I thought, I need to read that. And I read it. And I was blown away. So I actually have a copy of that over there in one of the cabinets. Amy Reese Connolly, hello from Indiana. Okay, are you guys ready for some crazy history? Now, here's the thing. With what I do a lot. I read a ton, and I do a lot of research. And my research is like a rabbit hole research, or pulling a string. Some thread will come out and I'll pull on it and go down some rabbit hole, and then I'll find out some. And there will be a lot of odd things that I find and that I read that don't fit into any story. When I'm looking for a Joshua Chamberlain or I'm looking for some cool story to use in something like the Traveler's Gift or an Eric Erickson like I used in Traveler's Summit, I'll find stuff that really happened, but there's no context for it or there's no real use for it other than to go, are you kidding me? And so I kind of file a lot of those away, and so I've been going through some of those files lately, and so here we go. We got a few of them for you today. I thought this was very interesting because cats have been around since pre-Egyptian times. Cats have been around. I mean, dogs were first domesticated, but cats were the first ones to be let inside the house. And cats were the first to be allowed roam of the property because they would take care of rodents. And when man started keeping grain, rodents became this huge problem, and so cats were the deal. I mean, cats were on ships. Cats, DeSoto carried cats to America with him, and so, but there was a time in the 13th century that Pope Gregory the Ninth basically declared war on cats of the world. I mean, he's Pope, so this is the cats of the world, and he insisted that black cats in particular, but cats in general, were associated with devil worship, which led them to be literally they tried to exterminate them in Europe. I mean, they killed a bunch of cats. And over time, you talk about, something happening, that they didn't intend, the law of unintended consequences. Over time, the scarcity of cats allowed the rat population to grow, which in turn helped to spread the bubonic plague a few decades later. I mean, it was just decades after the cat extermination that the bubonic plague happened. So, I guess the moral of that story is don't kill a cat, I guess. Okay, now I am a ketchup sewer, just to let you know. I am a Heinz person. Heinz has real ketchup. Everything else is just a pretender to the throne. But in the 1830s, a physician that was named Dr. John Cook Bennett, he claimed that tomatoes had not long been thought to be poisonous, but he claimed that tomatoes could be used to treat diarrhea and indigestion. And his tomato ketchup recipe was concentrated into pill form and sold as a medicine. So how about that? I would like a order of catfish with hush puppies and French fried and a side of ketchup pills. Okay. Now, when I say the Avengers, you're thinking the movie guys, right? Okay, but there were Avengers before them. There was a group that called themselves the Avengers. This was a group of Jewish assassins who, after World War II ended, they hunted Nazi war criminals, and there were about 50 of them. And according to a declassified U.S. military report, about 50 of these Jewish men that called themselves the Avengers, at one point they worked together to go into a camp, a prisoner of war camp that Americans were holding Nazi SS guys. This was before the Nuremberg trials, after the war, but before Nuremberg. And 50 of these guys who were being held in this thing, or 50 of these guys got in, and they were able to get into the food and water, and they poisoned 2,283 of the Nazi SS who were in the camp. And that's just been declassified in the past few years. Okay, now go from poisoning Nazis to the Olympics. This was kind of weird to me when I read this. Hey, you guys, how are you doing? New people, more people in the studio. A tug of war was an Olympic sport. Did you know this? I mean, and it was between 1900 and 1920, and it was an Olympic sport at 5 different Summer Olympic Games. And the nation to win the most medals in this was Britain with 5 medals, and then the USA with 3. It's kind of an American sport. I kind of don't like that Britain beat us in tug of war, you know? So, anyway, okay. In the Roman Empire, we talked about cats there earlier, but in the Roman Empire, the most popular pets were dogs, monkeys, and ferrets. And they used these ferrets instead of cats. The ancient Romans used ferrets to hunt mice and rats, and they used dogs as guards, and they used monkeys as entertainment. I mentioned this to Austin the other night, and I said, ferrets were a big pet in the Roman Empire, and Austin said, ferrets, the limousine of rats. Okay, did you know that St. Lawrence is the patron saint of cooks, chefs, and comedians? Now, would you happen to know why? Let me tell you how this happened. During the persecution of the Christians there in Rome, he was roasted on a grill by the prefect of Rome. And as he was being roasted, at one point, he cheerfully declared, "I'm well done on this side, turn me over." And so because of the way he died and his little bit of comedic repartee there at the end, St. Lawrence became the patron saint of cooks, chefs, and comedians. How about that? Okay, now here's more about the ancient Romans, but this goes in the category of more than you wanted to know. But I can't resist. And then I'm going to top it with the next one, because the next one's worse than this one. But the Romans often used, now this is kind of funny to me because of the word stale, all right, because that was in the, the Romans often used stale urine as mouthwash. Okay, now I got to say, I don't know why the fresh wouldn't be better, but but evidently, and this sounds pretty nasty, and the reason it sounds pretty nasty is because it is pretty nasty. But urine contains ammonia, which is actually evidently one of the best natural cleaning agents around. And they called it liquid gold. It became so in demand that the Romans who traded in it actually had to pay a tax to the Roman Empire. Okay, now as bad as that one is, this is the other one was nasty. This one is nasty. Okay, and the only reason that I'm even bringing this up is because nobody's ever heard of this. And this is just so weird and bizarre. We all know King Henry VIII was kind of a weirdo. Yeah. I mean, he was just kind of a weirdo. He had wives killed. He, ate like a crazy person. Well, he also had special servants, and they were called grooms of stool. Okay, anybody know where this is going? The job of the grooms of stool was to wipe King Henry VIII's after he went to the bathroom. And during his reign, he actually had 4 different servants that were grooms of stool, and all 4 of them were knighted. So it's like you got the worst job in the kingdom, but you're a knight. Okay, Sir Groom of Stool. Now, this is something that I ran across that I thought I would love to put these people in a book some way, and I had never been able to figure out how to put them in a book. But this is just pretty odd and amazing to me. You hear about the tallest and the smallest and the biggest and the littlest, but then, and you even hear about the biggest teams and the biggest offensive line. Okay, you ever thought about the tallest married couple? Okay, well, I actually know who the tallest married couple are. The tallest married couple that were ever recorded were Canadian. And the woman was Anna Hanning Swan, and she was 7'11", and she married Martin Van Buren Bates, who was 7'9". And they married on June 17th, 1871, and actually had a baby. And when she gave birth, the baby weighed 23 pounds and his feet were 6 inches long. Okay, all right, let's see. We've had the mouthwash, we've had the grooming. Why not historical execution? This will be good. Now, you know how they can train an elephant to do anything in the circus, right? I mean, they train them to stand up. What? Oh, somebody saying something to me? No? Oh, okay. No, I didn't know what it was. They have, you can train an elephant to do anything. You can train them to come up like that. You can train them to go up, on their front feet and their nose. And in Asia, in Asia, you could be executed by elephant. They had trained executioner elephants, and these elephants were taught to slowly break bones or slowly crush skulls or to twist off people's limbs. And they were even taught to execute some people using large blades that were fitted to their tusks. So in some parts of Asia, this method of execution was still popular up until the late 19th century. So up until like around 1900. Anyway, okay. Something a little funnier here. Everybody's heard of the Boston Tea Party. But what about the Boston molasses disaster? Ever heard of that? This was actually on January 15th, 1919. A 90-foot wide cast iron tank filled to the brim with molasses exploded, and it spilled 2.5 million gallons of molasses into the streets of Boston. And this brown stuff ran through the streets just like a tsunami, like you saw the tsunami in Thailand. There were 15-foot high waves, and it reached speeds of 35 miles an hour. And this molasses demolished everything in its path. It busted up buildings, drowned horses, and it eventually killed 21 people and injured 150. The Great Molasses Disaster. Whew. Crazy history. Okay. Before the 19th century, dentures, there was a time they were made from ivory, and there was a time they were made from wood. Okay, but there was a time there in the 1800s that dentures were actually made from dead soldiers' teeth. And after I've studied a lot about the Battle of Waterloo. There's a thing in the Little Things about the Battle of Waterloo and how Napoleon actually won before he lost, and why that happened. But one of the interesting facts about Waterloo was when the battle was over, some of the first people to run out onto the battlefield were dentists. And they ran out on the battlefield to take teeth out of these thousands of dead soldiers. And then they took this to their dental practices and made them into dentures for rich people without teeth. So that is just so odd. Okay, well, here's the last one. Are you ready? Now this is a good one. This is just one of my favorites, and I have not been able to get. I really want an original of this book, and I haven't been able to find one yet. But it's a book, a novel that was written in 1898. And it's a fiction novel, and it was written by an author named Morgan Robertson. And so the story in this novel, 1898, Morgan Robertson, the story was about a ship that was built to be unsinkable. Now, unfortunately, in the story, as this unsinkable ship was crossing the North Atlantic, it hit an iceberg. And as it became obvious that this ship was going to sink, it also became apparent that the ship had a tragic shortage of lifeboats. And so in the story, most of the passengers and the crew died in the disaster. Again, this book was published in 1898. Okay, now the Titanic sunk in 1912, 14 years after this book was released. You want to know what the book's title was? Morgan Robertson wrote a book called Futility, the Wreck of the Titan. How about that? I mean, is that just bizarre? So anyway, I want to get that book. So, okay. Well, you guys, hey, listen. Now, remember, Thursday, we're going to have the Battle Royal. We're going to have, we're going to have Polly and her eldest son, Austin. And they're going to be duking it out about what the best story songs are. And, my family is really into music and songs. Austin and Adam and Polly they're probably more than me. Okay. No, wait a minute. They're definitely more into it than I am. And they talk about it and they listen to it, listen to this one and listen to this line. And so story songs is the topic for Thursday. And there is a severe disagreement on which one the best is. That'll be Thursday. Polly and Austin will be my guests. So Marcy Cross Taylor. Yeah, how about that book? Wow, premonition. Yeah. Well, Tom Clancy wrote about a guy taking an airliner into the Capitol before 9/11 happened. And so that's why, I don't know if you know this, but some of the work that I've done with some of the intelligence community is kind of called Imagineering. They want you to imagine something crazy that could happen, and then they game it and try to what will happen, how we will deal with this and all. So Judas DeWitt, yep, the war zone for Thursday. And but I think that authors are particularly able to come up with things that just kind of, here's an odd thing about why this happens like this is because fiction has to be more plausible than nonfiction. Have you ever thought about that? Fiction has to make more sense than nonfiction because, nonfiction, you write nonfiction, people go, well, yeah, well, he had a groom of stool. He had how crazy is that? But, okay, there's nonfiction. It really happened. But, if you're doing fiction, you can't think that people would go, well, that's stupid. That would never happen. It has to be plausible in fiction, but nonfiction, all bets are off. Just whatever you want to write, because if it happened, it happened. If it rained purple dogs, well, it did, okay? But fiction, it can't ever rain purple dogs because that would never happen. Stan Wiggins, always a pleasure to have you join us, buddy. We had a great Memorial Day, and it was a Memorial Day of remembering and several phone calls and a lot of prayers and thoughts out to, because you're just particularly aware on Memorial Day that you're, just how privileged we are and how amazing it is that we're able to live like we live and to know that there are people with us today who members of their family gave the last full measure to make our dreams of freedom come true and stay true. And so, again, I know it's day after Memorial Day, but can't be too grateful for those men and women who gave their lives for our country. So thank you guys And we will see you on Thursday with the Battle Royale, Polly and Austin, the best story songs. Goodbye.